If you go to spark.adobe.com on your browser, spark.adobe.com, this takes you to the online Spark platform. Now this software is also available in app format, so you can download it to your phone or to an iPad or some other tablet device. And you just log in using your Adobe ID credentials. And it gives you a list of the projects that you've created. These are ones I've done already. And you'll notice the plus sign here allows you to add content. You can create a graphic, which we will use this part of the platform when we do our social media campaign for Twitter. So you can see you can create social graphics. You can create a web page. We're going to use that part of the platform to create our storied portfolio. And video we're going to use, it's kind of like if you imagine PowerPoint on steroids. So this is Adobe Spark Video. And it really coaches you through the process of building your story up incrementally. First off, it wants a title. I don't really know what my story is going to be all about. That's never a good place to start, but this is just a demonstration. I'm going to call this one "Too Much Light Makes the Baby Go Blind." Okay. Now, it immediately presents you with a number of scaffolds or storytelling templates based on the type of story that you want to share. Do you want to promote an idea like, social equality? Do you want to share something that happened to you, so you're recounting an event? Do you want to tell a story about a hero's journey? And it gives you a little summary of how a regular person overcame a great challenge and changed the world for the better. Do you want to do a show and tell, or a story of personal growth, where you used to be like this, then this happened to you, and you did this, and the other thing, and eventually I saw the world and engaged with the world in a different way. That indicates personal growth. Do you just want to be more didactic and teach a lesson on something? And then if we look all the way over here, we can create an invitation for an event, or you can just make up your own story using your own scaffolding. What you will notice if you choose any of these other ones is that the scaffolding that it provides, so let's take a look at the hero's journey. If we were to create that, it starts to set up a series of prompts. So it gives you some quick tips. But the first thing it wants to know, you'll see that there are these cue cards for each component of the story. First, we want to set the story up. Then there's a call to adventure. Then there's a challenge, a climax, and a resolution, credits, and so on. So in the setup, it says, tell us about the hero and their world before the quest begins. So you see, it has that story structure baked into it. I don't want that. I wish to tell a different story, so I'm just going to go back. And I'm going to use the custom framework. Oh, there, we'll edit that. And it wants to keep that same structure, so I'm just going to delete that story. So we'll just go back. And you'll notice out here on the project level, I can just hit this ellipsis and just say delete. Create a new project, video, and too much light makes the baby go blind. And I'm going to use the custom framework, make up my own. So you'll notice in this instance, it does not provide you with the scaffolding. So you're not going to get all of those prompts. See there, they're all missing. It's not going to guide you in any way whatsoever. So here's my first slide. And I'm just going to use a photo that I downloaded from the internet. So I select photo for my content, and I upload that photo. And I just have it out here on my desktop. And that photo can be formatted. You notice that there's an edit function here. And you can have it zoom out or zoom in. You can move that photo around and change the cropping. But what I want you to notice is right off the top here, there's a record button. Here you're going to be allowing it access to the microphone, and it's going to record your voice. Now this can be weird for you for the first time. Not all of us, in fact, I don't know too many people, my wife included, who's a voice actress, does not like the sound of her own voice. It's just something about hearing your own voice played back to you that's cringeworthy. But we use our voice to tell a story. You hold down the record button and it's going to count you in, and you just record it. So I'm just going to record the intro. Oh, you got to allow that. Okay. Johnny was a young man who had some very special glasses. They were called X-ray specs. Okay? Now, I can play back that slide.
Johnny was a young man who had some very special glasses. They were called X-ray specs.
Okay, so it's a bit
Johnny
weird.
was a young man.
All right, now I'm going to add something else in. I'm just going to duplicate that slide. See the little ellipsis there? Click it, because I'm going to be using the same image as the backdrop for my story. I duplicate it, and now I'm on the duplicate version. I can record more of my soundtrack. Johnny found his glasses in the very last page of a Captain America magazine. Wow, it was more a comic book. Okay, I can preview that.
Johnny found his glasses in the very last page of
Okay. I'm going to up the ante here now. Johnny found these glasses in a back page advertisement in the very rear of... I messed it up. So you just keep recording till you get it right. Johnny found his special X-ray glasses in the very back page of a DC Comics original version of Captain America. Now, is Captain America DC?
No.
See? So when you go back and change things. Johnny's glasses were a marvel. In fact, he found them in the back page in an advertisement, the very first copy of Captain... Oh, geez, see? It's giving me a warning. It's too long. So if it goes on too long, it's going to say, hey, look, split that into a couple of different slides. And it starts to go red there. And it's like, wake up, wrap it up, finish up. And then it says, hey, you've gone on too long. And you say, okay, I get it, I get it. So brevity is really important. Johnny's X-ray specs were a marvel. In fact, he found them in the very last page of the first edition of Captain America. It was an advertisement that called to him. Now, I can go back and I can preview the whole thing right from this point.
Johnny was a young man who had some very special glasses. They were called X-ray specs. Johnny's X-ray specs were a marvel. In fact, he found them in the very last page of the first edition of Captain America. It was an advertisement that called to it.
Okay, so I can keep previewing that whole thing just like that. And then I can duplicate this one. The fact of the matter was, Johnny was blind. A long time ago, when he was a young kid, his uncle caught him staring at the sun during a solar eclipse, and he said to Johnny, "You'll go blind if you do that." But Johnny didn't listen. No, Johnny stared at that sunspot, and before he knew it, he'd burned out his retinas. The boy was blind. Okay, I'll duplicate that. Oh, I know you're asking, well, how did he read the comics? Well, this was a very special first edition DC comic. Sorry, it was Marvel. I know you're asking yourself, how did he read that advertisement if he was blind? Well, it was a very important and special first edition. It was a DC Comics Braille. Marvel. Oh, damn. Marvel. You're probably marveling at the fact that Johnny was able to read a comic when in fact he was blind. Well, this is a very first. You're probably marveling at the fact that Johnny was able to read an advertisement in a comic when, for all intents and purposes, he was blind. The fact of the matter is that first edition Marvel comic was actually published in Braille. Thanks to Johnny's new X-ray specs, he's finally found his vision again and can go on about his life in a semi-normal way. The moral of the story is, too much light makes the baby go blind. So the next time your uncle tells you to stop, sir. So the moral of the story is, too much light makes the baby go blind. So the next time your uncle tells you to stop staring at the sun, maybe you'll listen, because you know what? There is no such thing as X-ray specs. And they never did publish a Braille edition of that comic book, but maybe they should. Bless you. Okay, so the theme music, maybe I'll change the theme. So maybe I'll go to this theme, not that it makes a difference. If I added any text. Now you can add text, you can add a collection of icons, and you can add images, and in fact you can add video into this. So this is the visual theme. And then you'll notice there's also music. You can add your own MP3s, or you can use some of the canned stuff that's in there. Let's try East of the Railroad. Yeah, I think that'll work. Kind of got a reflexive jive to it. So I'm gonna use that. I'll add that in. I'm going to pull the music down a little bit, duck it under the voiceover so it doesn't overpower it. And now I can preview the whole thing right from here. Now, of course, if I like it, I can then share it or download the video. And you share that on social media, on Twitter, Facebook, or whatever, Behance. So for now, I'm just going to preview it.
Johnny was a young man who had some very special glasses. They were called X-ray specs.
Okay, sorry, I've got to preview it from here. I should have I should have started there.
Johnny was a young man who had some very special glasses. They were called X-ray specs. Johnny's X-ray specs were a marvel. In fact, he found them at the very last page of the first edition of Captain America. It was an advertisement that called to it. The fact of the matter was, Johnny was blind. A long time ago, when he was a young kid, his uncle caught him staring at the sun during a solar eclipse. He said to Johnny, "You'll go blind if you do that." Johnny didn't listen. No, Johnny stared at that sunspot. Before he knew it, he burned out his retinas. The boy was blind. You're probably marveling at the fact that Johnny was able to read an advertisement in a comic when, for all intents and purposes, he was blind. The fact of the matter is that first edition Marvel comic was actually published in Braille.
You'd almost believe that guy, wouldn't you?
Yes.
Let's publish it as a horror tale. I'm going to change the sound on it. Right?
Johnny was a young man who had some very special glasses. They were called X-ray specs. Johnny's X-ray specs were a marvel. In fact, he found them at the very last page of the first edition of Captain America. It was an advertisement that called.
So you can see how music sets the mood. And this is what I was talking about in storytelling about context. Shifting the context or the background against which you want to tell your story changes the way in which it's perceived by the audience. So just changing the background music made us feel like this story was a lot more menacing. It was exactly the same story, just with the music changed, and yet as an audience we perceive it very differently. So again, when you're done, you could download that video or you could share it on social media and publish it. You pick a category. I'm just going to use this as education, and it would start to render that out and generate a link that you could then share on your social media channels.